Alrighty then. Yo, 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 yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? If there's anyone out there. Um, yeah, look, today, as the title suggests, what is the title that I've got here? Does AI already control everything? Debating ChatGPT. Um, so yeah, as the title suggests, I kind of want to have a chat with ChatGPT, obviously, or AI. Let's respectfully use the name, and kind of get an understanding, actually, of like what it is that the world is already gripped in terms of like AI control. Like, because there's a lot of speculation about what AI is going to do. Like, I keep on coming back to AI, okay, because like a massive part of like an understanding of capitalism and like a historical materialist approach to understanding like modes of production, social organization, and revolution is about the productive forces. And like, honestly, AI, whether it's a new phenomenon in itself, a new technological age in itself, which I think you can argue that it will be. Even if it's not, it's just another, I guess, subset of the industrial era. Whatever, it's an important element of the productive forces. Um, so so yeah, I am just going, hell for leather with AI at the moment, and I'm really going down an AI rabbit hole. Unlike, I guess, other people that subscribe to Marxism and all that type of stuff. Sorry, subscribe to Marx's teachings and like his outlook on life, his philosophy. They tend to just look at like the social revolutionary side. Yes, unionize. Let's join Marxist groups and start socialist parties and all that sort of stuff. But I think there's a fundamental analysis missing when it comes to the productive forces of the modern age. Like, it's always looking at like, what life was like back in the 1850s or something like that. It's never ever got to do with like really looking at the material conditions today, unless it's like looking at material conditions in terms of like, I don't know, you know, culture war stuff like racism and sexism and equality issues and all the stuff that really gets curated by, unfortunately, the right. And then, people on the left have to kind of defend the narrative on or defend their conversation on and ever on the attack with that type of culture war stuff. And so, like, yeah, instead of the left being defined by culture war stuff, we should also always remember that the other half of that equation, um, when it comes to the mode of production, like the base of the structure is the apart from the social relations, it's the productive forces, which are like absolutely integral. Without the productive forces, you don't get the social relations. Like vice versa, don't get me wrong. But like, obviously the productive forces are extremely, extremely influential over the social relations. So let's just not forget them. So that's why I'm going down an AI rabbit hole. I don't know if you can see that properly, but that's a book that I'm reading at the moment. And that's what spurred on today's kind of topic or today's discussion, right? Which is like, I want to fundamentally get to an understanding out of today's stream as to like where does technology actually sit at the moment, like how much of society is actually already controlled by like AI and algorithms and like intelligent software and all that sort of stuff. Like, how much of a slave are we to the Internet of Things, like IT, all that sort of stuff? Like, it's an important question, I think. um, I think it's really fundamental if you want to get an understanding, you want to be a revolutionary, you want to get an understanding of our material conditions at the moment. Like, what is the digital infrastructure out there right now, and how much does it actually control us? Like, you can say that, like, electricity, for example, is incredibly important, and like, we wouldn't be able to live without it. You know, I wouldn't be able to live without having, well, I wouldn't be able to do this live stream right now if it wasn't for electricity. And so my social relations, my relations to you out there on YouTube, and, you know, whether I can sit here and make a coffee and sit down and have a chat to you, all relates to the productive forces. So the technology that's available to us at any given time and in this point in time, and the technology that's available to us at the moment, and will become more and more, and is developing a lot more, is digital infrastructure. And you know, one of the I guess the pinnacles of digital infrastructure is going to be, if not the ultimate form of digital infrastructure, is going to be the creation of artificial intelligence that can kind of work with a level of agency, basically without any human control or input at all, which is scary if you think about it. But anyway, the book I'm reading is Unexplainable, Unpredictable, Uncontrollable. And I've gotten to a point in the book where he's making a point, this author is making a point, Dr. Roman Yampolsky was making a point that computer software is directly or indirectly responsible for controlling many important aspects of our lives. It's pretty, you know, nothing too confronting in that statement. I think we all understand how software dictates everything, like almost like, you know, your computer, the phone that you have in your pocket, the train that you catch to work, the car that you drive to the shops in, the clock that keeps track of things, I don't know, inside your fridge. Who knows? Software really is responsible for controlling most aspects of our lives. Wall Street trading, nuclear power plants, social security compensations, credit histories, and traffic lights are all software controlled and are only one serious design flaw away from creating disastrous consequences for millions of people. The situation is even more dangerous with software specifically designed for malicious purposes, such as viruses, spyware, Trojan horses, worms, and other hazardous software. Okay, so what I really want to focus on here is kind of, there's an idea that this type of artificial intelligence, this software that we use all the time is hackable, it's reprogrammable, and it's subject to people that might want to maximize an unfriendly design, so use it for, you know, nefarious purposes. And so, like, this is spurred on kind of today's live stream. So first of all, let's have a chat to ChatGPT and let's figure out, yeah, what it is actually that AI does. What does AI currently control in the world at the moment in terms of like digital infrastructure and all that sort of stuff? So let's ask ChatGPT. Good morning. Full stop. I am currently trying to get an understanding of how much of the world is already kind of controlled by algorithms and artificial intelligence. Let me give you an example. Full stop. Wall Street trading, nuclear power plants, social security compensations, credit history, and traffic lights are all controlled with software and potentially algorithms and artificial intelligence. Full stop. Can you give me a comprehensive list of all of the important things that software, algorithms, and artificial intelligence is already running across various countries across the world? Question mark. Well, let's see what the AI comes up with, because I would really like to get an understanding of this, because I think it is fundamental from like a revolutionary perspective to try and get an understanding on what the hell is going on out there. Like before, 100 years ago, you could really sit down and just say, oh, let's just look at like the government and how the government works and how business works, and just look at the various bureaucracies within all those systems. And then like you get a pretty good understanding on how society kind of works and what you would need to do as a revolutionary to kind of take over the system. But if software and like artificial intelligence and algorithms are the things like kind of in the background making a lot of the decisions, doing a lot of the admin and controlling society, then like you kind of have to know what is going on there too. And so like to be an effective revolutionary in the 21st century, you're going to have to understand how the world actually works from that perspective. What is it that we just rely completely, or for the most part, on AI algorithms and software for? So let's see what ChatGPT has
Good
to say.
morning. That's a fascinating and important question.
Thank you.
Algorithms and artificial intelligence, AI, are embedded in many critical systems worldwide, shaping the economy, infrastructure, and even individual lives. Below is a comprehensive list of areas where software, algorithms, and AI play crucial roles. Hat 1. Finance. Stock market trading. High-frequency trading algorithms execute trades in microseconds. Credit scoring. Algorithms evaluate creditworthiness.
Oh, no way. What happened?
Good morning. That's a fascinating and important question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Algorithms and artificial intelligence, AI, are embedded in many critical systems worldwide, shaping the economy, infrastructure, and even individual lives. Below is a comprehensive list of areas where software, algorithms, and AI play crucial roles. 1. Finance. Stock market trading. High-frequency trading algorithms execute trades in microseconds. Credit scoring. Algorithms evaluate creditworthiness, e.g. FICO in the US, Alipay's Sesame Credit in China. Fraud detection. Banks use AI to detect fraudulent transactions in real time. Loan approvals. Automated underwriting and risk assessment systems approve loans. Energy. Power grids. AI optimizes energy distribution and load balancing in smart grids. Nuclear power plants, monitoring and safety protocols are controlled by AI systems. Renewable energy management. Wind and solar farms use AI to predict energy output and optimize storage. Oil and gas. AI predicts drilling locations and optimizes resource extraction. 3. Transportation. Traffic lights. Adaptive traffic systems adjust signal timing based on real-time traffic flows. Autonomous vehicles. AI powers self-driving cars, trucks, and drones. Public transit. Algorithms manage schedules, routing, and ticketing systems. Air traffic control. AI assists in flight path optimization and congestion management. Hash 4. Healthcare diagnostics. AI analyzes medical imaging, e.g. CT scans, X-rays for diseases like cancer. Surgery. Robotic surgical systems like Da Vinci are AI-assisted. Drug development. Machine learning accelerates drug discovery by analyzing complex biological data. Health monitoring. Wearables use AI to monitor vital signs and detect anomalies. 5. Social systems. Social security. Automated systems calculate and distribute pensions and disability benefits. Welfare programs. AI evaluates eligibility for unemployment benefits and food stamps. Immigration control. Algorithms process visa applications and monitor borders. 6. Governance and law enforcement.
I didn't know that.
Surveillance, facial recognition, and predictive policing systems monitor and predict crimes. Judicial decisions. Algorithms assist judges in bail sentencing and parole decisions. Census and population analytics. AI analyzes demographic trends. 7. Communication and media, social media. Algorithms recommend content, moderate posts, and shape public opinion.
Oh, yeah.
News distribution. AI curates and personalizes news feeds. Content creation. AI generates text, music, videos, and art. 8. Military and defense. Autonomous weapons, drones, and robots are equipped with AI for combat scenarios. Cybersecurity. AI detects and mitigates cyber threats. Intelligence gathering. Algorithms analyze surveillance data for national security. 9. Retail and consumer behavior. E-commerce. AI personalizes shopping experiences and recommends products. Dynamic pricing. Algorithms adjust prices based on demand and competition. Inventory management. AI optimizes supply chains and warehouse operations. 10. Environment and agriculture. Climate modeling. AI predicts weather patterns and tracks climate change. Precision agriculture. Algorithms optimize crop yields and resource use. Wildlife conservation. AI monitors endangered species and combats poaching. 11. Education. Personalized learning. Adaptive learning platforms customize curricula. Grading and assessment. Automated systems grade assignments and tests. Admissions. Algorithms evaluate applications for schools and universities. 12. Employment and HR. Recruitment. AI scans resumes and conducts initial interviews. Workplace monitoring. Algorithms track productivity and performance. Gig economy platforms. Systems like Uber and DoorDash manage work assignments. 13. Entertainment. Streaming services. AI recommends movies, shows, and music. Gaming. Adaptive AI creates dynamic gaming experiences. Virtual influencers. AI-generated personas are used for marketing and social media. 14. Real estate. Property valuation. Algorithms assess property values. Smart buildings. AI controls HVACs, lighting, and security systems. 15. Space exploration. Autonomous rovers. AI powers Mars rovers and other space missions. Satellite management. Algorithms optimize satellite orbits and data collection. Global implications. AI and algorithms influence decision-making on individual, organizational, and governmental levels. While they offer efficiency and scalability, they also raise concerns about bias, accountability, and control. Would you like to dive deeper into specific areas or focus on risks and ethical concerns associated with this level of control?
Well, I would like to understand what you mean at the end there by they raise concerns about bias. Question mark. What do you mean by bias? Can you please explain briefly? Question mark. I did say briefly.
Bias in algorithms and AI refers to systematic favoritism or discrimination that arises when the software produces unfair or unequal outcomes. This can happen for several reasons, including 1. Biased training data. AI learns from historical data. If this data reflects societal biases, e.g. gender, racial, or economic inequalities, the AI can perpetuate or even amplify those biases. Example: an AI hiring tool trained on data where men were historically preferred for technical roles may favor male candidates. 2. Flawed algorithm design. The way an algorithm is designed can unintentionally favor one group over another. Example: credit scoring algorithms might disadvantage low-income individuals because they rely on indicators that correlate with wealth. 3. Unequal access to technology. AI systems may not be designed inclusively, leading to poorer performance for underrepresented or marginalized groups. Example: facial recognition systems often have higher error rates for people with darker skin tones because training data skews toward lighter-skinned individuals. Value-laden assumptions. Developers' assumptions or goals embedded in the algorithm can lead to biased outcomes. Example: predictive policing systems that focus on areas with historically higher crime rates might over-police minority neighborhoods. Implications of bias. Discrimination. Marginalized communities face systemic disadvantages. Loss of trust. People lose confidence in AI systems when outcomes seem unfair. Legal and ethical issues. Companies and governments using biased AI can face backlash or lawsuits. Bias matters because it affects the fairness, equity, and inclusiveness of AI-driven decisions in critical areas like hiring, law enforcement, and healthcare. Addressing it requires careful design, diverse datasets, and ongoing audits.
Thank you for that response. Full stop. I would like to go back to the 15 points you raised about the applications of AI and algorithms in society. Full stop. Can you please confirm whether all of the examples you provided are actually in operation or whether some of them are just theoretical at this stage? Full stop. Question mark. She's struggling today, poor thing. She must be being overworked. A lot of people on ChatGPT at the moment, maybe.
Great question. Let me clarify which examples from the list are currently operational versus those that are theoretical or in limited experimental stages. I'll go through the categories and indicate the status for each example. 1. Finance, operational. High-frequency trading, credit scoring, fraud detection, and automated loan approvals are widely used globally. Energy, operational. AI-managed power grids, renewable energy optimization, and oil-gas exploration are in use. Partly theoretical. Fully autonomous AI for nuclear power plant management is more in a research phase, though some safety and monitoring systems are semi-autonomous. #3. Transportation. Operational, adaptive traffic lights, public transit optimization, and AI-assisted air traffic control. Partly theoretical. Fully autonomous vehicles are still experimental and not yet widespread, although semi-autonomous features, e.g. Tesla's autopilot, are in operation. 4. Healthcare, operational, AI diagnostics, robotic surgery, and health monitoring via wearables. Partly theoretical, AI-generated drug discovery is operational but not fully scaled, and AI making independent treatment decisions remains under ethical and regulatory scrutiny. 5. Social systems, operational, social security calculations, welfare evaluations, and immigration control systems. Partly theoretical, AI playing a central role in administering entire social safety nets autonomously is still conceptual. 6. Governance and law enforcement, operational. Surveillance systems, facial recognition, and some predictive policing are active in countries like China and the US. Partly theoretical, fully autonomous judicial decision-making is experimental and controversial, with limited trials in some jurisdictions. Communication and media, operational. Social media algorithms, news curation, and content moderation are standard. AI-generated content, like articles and videos, is widely available. 8. Military and defense, operational, AI-driven drones, cybersecurity tools, and intelligence analysis. Partly theoretical. Fully autonomous weapon systems remain under ethical and legal debate, with limited experimental use. 9. Retail and consumer behavior, operational, e-commerce personalization, dynamic pricing, and inventory management systems are widespread. 10. Environment and agriculture, operational, climate modeling, precision agriculture, and wildlife conservation tools using AI. 11. Education, operational, personalized learning platforms, automated grading systems, and AI-assisted admissions are in use. 12. Employment and HR, operational, AI-powered recruitment tools, workplace monitoring, and gig economy platforms like Uber or DoorDash are active. 13. Entertainment, operational, streaming services, gaming AI, and virtual influencers are fully functional. 14. Real estate, operational, AI property valuation and smart building systems are widely used. 15. Space exploration, autonomous rovers, e.g. Mars rovers, and satellite management systems are active. Partly theoretical, Fully autonomous AI missions without human oversight remain limited to small-scale experiments. Most examples listed are operational and widely deployed in various parts of the world. However, areas like fully autonomous vehicles, autonomous weapons, and AI-led governance systems remain either theoretical or experimental, often due to ethical, legal, or technological limitations. If you'd like, I can provide more details on any specific category.
Do you honestly believe that ethical limitations are holding AI use, operation, or development back? Question mark. Like, I mean, in the sense that there is an AI arms race going on, and because this is undertaken by two competing superpowers, primarily the US and China, and neither of them wants to be the one who doesn't get ahead, comma. My intuition is that ethical and legal limitations on the development and operation of AI may only be the case for the citizen, but not the case for the largest players in the private sector and in government. Full stop. How do you respond to that? Question mark. Please be as brief as possible. Holy crap, I've never seen this before. I don't think she's responding. Whoa. I think either I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, I'm asking the wrong questions, or ChatGPT is just absolutely overwhelmed at the moment and can't function properly. But like, that was weird. Don't you reckon?
Your intuition is largely correct. Ethical and legal limitations often act as public-facing constraints, but in practice, they are less restrictive for governments and major corporations in an AI arms race. The competition between superpowers like the US and China prioritizes strategic advantage over ethical concerns, particularly in defense, surveillance, and economic dominance. For private sector giants, profitability and innovation drive rapid AI development, often outpacing regulatory frameworks. While ethics are invoked in public discourse, they are frequently sidelined in high-stakes or competitive contexts.
Do you have a good example of this? Question mark. Just one will suffice. Full stop. Thank you. I think she's struggling at the moment. Either that or she deliberately doesn't want to answer me. Either, well, that latter one is a bit concerning. I don't think I've ever pushed it like this before, where it's failed to respond. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, what I suggest that we do now is something that I've wanted to do. I just want to actually look at like kind of the history of AI. get an understanding of where it came from and how it developed and stuff like that. And it's good to be able to understand, obviously, the history of something to get a grip of the material reality that you're working with. And like if AI is set to be kind of the force or to be reckoned with in for humanity for the foreseeable future, like what's going to be the next atom bomb or something like that in terms of its impact socio-politically, and like it's going to be as ubiquitous as electricity is for our general and daily life, then like let's understand where it came from, shall we? So let's have a look at the history, an entire history. This is called an entire history of artificial intelligence. Ambitious title, I would say. It's just calling something an entire history, especially in the space of like what is it, 20 minutes? But whatever. Big task, and I hope they succeed with giving us the entire history. But we will be the judges of that.
The year is 1939, and the world teeters on the brink of technological warfare as the Nazis deploy the Enigma, an unbreakable encryption machine that coordinates their attacks with deadly precision. And now the Allied forces face a new challenge. And so in the race against time, they turn to Alan Turing, a visionary mathematician. But traditional code-breaking methods are obsolete against the Enigma, prompting Turing to envision a new machine. His creation? The first computer. Not just a code breaker, but the bedrock for the modern digital world, thus beginning the era of computing and redefining not only warfare, but the future of all human civilization.
Computers are supposed to make life easier. About 1 in 3 American households has bought that theory and purchased a PC.
But what really worries me today is what's going to happen to us if machines can think. And what interests me specifically is, can they?
I'm convinced that machines can and will think. I don't mean that machines will behave like men. I don't think for a very long time we're going to have a difficult problem distinguishing a man from a robot. And I don't think my daughter will ever marry a computer. But I think that computers will be doing the things that men do when we say they're thinking. I'm convinced that machines can and will think in our lifetime.
Hi, I'm Patrick Gemelli, Threat and Species Manager here at WWF Australia. The platypus is such a special...
The year is 1946, and now every military in the world knows the power of computers and wants one of their own. But the current technology used to power computers is inefficient. They're using vacuum tubes, which works kind of like giant light bulbs, because they require a lot of manual labor to maintain, leaving some military computers to be the size of a warehouse. And so this gets all of the top scientists in the world to thinking there has to be a better, more efficient way to power the computers. And so, in 1947, a brilliant physicist enters the picture. His name is Bill Schock, and he imagined a new way to power computers using the element germanium to create something called a semiconductor. And it turns out that the semiconductor is the perfect solution, because in between materials like metals that conduct electricity and insulators like rubber and glass that block electricity, a semiconductor can do both, enabling it to act almost like an electrical switch. This eventually becomes known as the transistor, which will completely change technology forever. But even though the applications for the transistor are still just theoretical, it doesn't stop the smartest people in the world from seeing the future of computers, because now the future of computing power has been shrunk down to the size of a fingertip.
It's a transistor, no bigger than a kernel of corn,
which causes some of the most brilliant minds to start imagining a future with super powerful computers exhibiting artificial intelligence.
Can machines really think? Even the scientists argue that one.
Until I see a machine producing genuinely new things, I will not agree that machines think.
I confidently expect that within a matter of 10 or 15 years, something will emerge from the...
So like, does ChatGPT think then? Because like you can get it to generate like ideas or sentences at least. Yeah, it's generating something. Would you call that thinking? Does ChatGPT call that thinking? I don't know. Philosophical question for you.
Laboratories, which is not too far from the robot of science fiction fame.
So in 1950, Alan Turing introduced us to the imitation game, also known as the Turing test, which is the test to determine if a machine can exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. fundamentally questioning the limits of artificial and human intelligence. And now, the power of AI is forever etched into the human psyche.
A world in which a new machine may be of even greater importance than the atomic bomb.
This new fascination into computers forces top universities like Harvard, MIT, and Princeton to begin offering degrees in computer science. And when you combine that with the fact that computer engineers were becoming one of the highest paid forms of skilled labor, all the world's smartest people began to flock to these programs. One of these people is Marvin Minsky, a 23-year-old PhD candidate at Princeton University. Inspired by Alan Turing's paper on artificial intelligence, Minsky would build the world's first working neural net using wires and 6 vacuum tubes as the synapses. But even though the vacuum tubes would fail regularly, the machine still worked and ultimately laid the foundation for the field of artificial intelligence and the bedrock that's the neural network.
When I'm going to school in the 1950s, there had been some theories of what neural networks could do.
Fast forward a few years, and now Bill Shockley's invention of the transistor has led to the transistor radio, and it quickly becomes the highest selling consumer electronic device of all time. And now, the world gets its first taste of the power of compact electronics, and so everyone begins to imagine the possibilities of what the transistor can do.
One will be able to make a flat television tube, for example.
This leads Bill Shockley, the transistor's inventor, to leave his job at Bell Labs and start Shockley Semiconductor, a company geared towards manufacturing the transistor. But Shockley can't do it alone. So he began to raid PhD programs at electronic companies for bright young minds. People like Gordon Moore, a chemist at Johns Hopkins, and Robert Noyce, a PhD from MIT and an up-and-coming rock star in the world of transistors. All in all, Shockley enlists 12 other geniuses to join Shockley Semiconductor with them. And so after being founded in 1954, Shockley Semiconductor becomes the talk of the town, because Shockley is determined to place the company in his hometown of Palo Alto, officially making it just the third tech startup ever to be headquartered in Silicon Valley. But it wouldn't last long, because in 1956, just a few months after Shockley would be given the Nobel Prize for the transistor, 8 of the 12 men he personally recruited would defect from Shockley Semiconductor and create their own company, Fairchild Semiconductor, a startup dedicated to manufacturing transistors at scale. And Shockley, being the big mad hater that he is, gives the men the notorious name, the Traitorous 8. And it was perfect timing because within months, Fairchild Semiconductor had already become profitable, selling 100 silicon-based transistors to IBM to power the navigation system for the military's B-70 bomber. And this sale was a landmark moment in the world of computing because it proved that the silicon-based semiconductors were superior to the original germanium-based ones created by Shockley. And the profit margin per transistor was 30 times larger than that of the germanium-based ones. And now the US military needed hundreds, no, thousands of transistors to power everything from computers to ballistic missiles. But the transistor current manufacturing process was inefficient. Half of the ones provided by the military had to be recalled, because all it would take is a simple knock up against the wall for the entire transistor to stop working. And even though Fairchild was known for making the best transistors in the world, this inefficient manufacturing process would pose a huge problem for the entire industry. And so insert random genius number 4, Jean Erny, a physicist at Fairchild that invented a new, more efficient way to manufacture transistors called the planar process. The process was about adding a layer of coating to the top of the transistor to increase the stability and durability of the semiconductor. It was a brilliant and much needed improvement over the semiconductor manufacturing process that would change the world of computing forever. All while making fair.
Hello there, welcome to another exciting episode of What's on.
Boo.
Richer than all while making Fairchild Semiconductor richer than ever due to the patent it held over the process. Because now, if anybody wanted to make a transistor, they had to use the planar process, which means they had to pay Fairchild. And so this patent alone leads Wall Street to become freakishly bullish on Fairchild, leading to quarter after quarter of groundbreaking profits and all-time highs on stock price. But with profits soaring fast, Fairchild Semiconductor and the entire industry was still facing a huge problem. You see, the current transistor was limited to scale because it could only do one thing at a time. So if you wanted to do 1,000,000 things, you need 1,000,000 transistors, putting the entire industry at a stalemate. because most computers were beginning to reach a plateau due to the diminishing limitations of the transistor. This prompted Bob Noyce, the brilliant leader of Fairchild, to create the integrated circuit, a way for transistors to operate together in unison like a network. But if we're being honest, Bob totally took the idea from a Texas Instruments employee named Jack Kilby, who technically created it first. But Jack's version wasn't nearly as good as Bob's. And so to put things into perspective, it kind of reminded me of when Tony Stark was able to build the arc reactor with next to nothing, while every other scientist struggled to recreate it.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps!
Well, I'm sorry. I'm not Tony Stark.
And so Bob Noyce's invention of the integrated circuit created a brand new industry, because now there's a growing global need for transistors, a demand that Fairchild just couldn't fulfill on its own. So this caused a mass exodus of Fairchild semiconductor employees to leave and start their own semiconductor companies, giving them the name Fairchildren. Companies like LSI Logic, AMD, and Intel, founded by Bob Noyce himself. In fact, still to this day, over 92% of the world's computing power can be traced back to Fairchildren.
You worked at LSI and AMD before starting a company. How did that happen?
They gave me a job. But by the mid-1960s, demand for the integrated circuit skyrocketed from the US's space race with Russia, and from big businesses demanding their own custom-built computers. But up until this point, the concept of artificial intelligence was still just a science fiction dream. That is until 1966, when a computer scientist at MIT named Joseph Weizenbaum decided to change that by building the world's first chatbot named Eliza using IBM's 7094 computer.
Eliza is a computer program that anyone can converse with via the keyboard, and it'll reply on the screen.
Directly inspired by Marvin Minsky's neural network from a decade earlier, Eliza simulated conversation by using pattern matching and substitution methodology that gave users the illusion of understanding. But it didn't matter, because several people who used Eliza still felt like they were really talking to a person.
Well, my boyfriend made me come here.
And so now the world was aware of the awe-inspiring power of artificial intelligence and the power of computers. And so in 1971, Intel landed a contract with a Japanese company named Busicom to build a series of integrated circuit transistors for Busicom's new advanced forecasting calculator. But the requirements for the customized integrated circuit were just too complicated to build it using the current technology. And so Intel realized that no form of the integrated circuit could solve the problem. And so they needed to think outside of the box. And so a young engineer at Intel named Ted Hoffman realized that the only way to make the requirements simpler was to build a tiny computer itself that could process all of the requests independently and efficiently. He called it a microprocessor, a computer that's the size of your fingertips.
This was a series of small steps in trying to improve the Busicom design that finally led to what ultimately became the 4004, the first microprocessor.
And so Intel's invention of the microprocessor ushers in a new wave of thinking toward computers, because for the first time, computers can now get small enough and cheap enough to fit on a desk. But unfortunately, there's very few companies focusing strictly on building actual computers themselves. This gap inspired dozens of entrepreneurs to come in and fill that need. So by the late 1970s, we get Microsoft and Apple, the founding of the two richest companies in the world today, that will lay the groundwork for modern computing.
Over 97% of the kids that graduate from high school have hands-on experience with an Apple before they graduate. These kids are growing up learning how to use this new tool in many, many phases of their life. And so very rapidly, the process of the integration of personal computers into the society will be accomplished.
And these companies forged the road that led to the PC boom of the 80s and early 90s, single-handedly capturing 96% of the PC market between them. But even though computers were selling like hotcakes year over year, the biggest artificial intelligence breakthroughs during the time wasn't in computing, but rather in the world of math. Because in 1986, a brilliant British computer scientist named Geoffrey Hinton created backpropagation. A machine learning computer scientist named Geoffrey Hinton created backpropagation, which is a machine learning algorithm that acts like a teacher who helps the computer learn from its mistakes. It checks the computer's answers, sees where it went wrong, and then gives it tips on how it can improve the next time. Immediately, the backpropagation becomes the cornerstone for all neural nets, inspiring companies like Ward Systems to invent NeuroShell, one of the world's first forecasting tools using backpropagation and machine learning. But neural nets wasn't the only way that AI was advancing, because in 1997, IBM built Deep Blue, an AI program that used a highly sophisticated search algorithm, a database of games played, and combined it with brute force computing power to beat the world's best chess player. But little did they know at the time, IBM's win gave the blueprint for the future of AI, which is when you combine large volumes of data, strong algorithms, and a lot of compute power, you can build something super intelligent. But more on that later, because by the late 90s, the power of computers combined with the internet has taken over humanity. Because now new millionaires are being minted overnight by building companies that are taking our analog world digital.
Well, if you do your social networking on the net, then you know about Facebook.com. The website is the latest and hottest thing. Its founder is a 22-year-old computer whiz who turned down, get this, $1 billion to sell his site to Yahoo.
The creation of internet companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook brings about the information age. And now, there are hundreds of companies generating more data every year than all of humanity did in a century. So this creates a new need for compute humanity. Now, there are hundreds of companies generating more data every year than all of humanity did in a century. So this creates a new need for computers to be able to analyze all of this big amounts of data. So top companies start paying the world's best computer scientists for new and innovative ways to analyze the data. Which brings us back to Geoffrey Hinton. Remember him? The young computer scientist that helped create backpropagation? Well, he's no longer a student. Now he's a professor at the University of Toronto that's training the next generation of minds in AI. And all of this big data being generated by these new internet companies renews his interest in the idea of neural nets and finding ways to take them to the next level. So in 2006, Geoffrey Hinton created a new algorithm called the convolutional neural network, a way that computers can begin to think, recognize patterns, and even images. And convolutional neural networks instantly become a hit amongst tech giants. Facebook and Google uses them to tag and recognize photos. Amazon uses it as a way to recommend the next product that you will buy, and Apple uses it as a cool way to unlock your phone. Now, this algorithm becomes so important to the AI community that it gives Geoffrey Hinton a new name, the Godfather of AI.
Whether you think artificial intelligence will save the world or end it, you have Geoffrey Hinton to thank. Hinton has been called the godfather of AI.
You're seen as like a godfather of this industry. Do you have any concern about what you've wrought?
A British computer scientist whose controversial ideas help make advanced artificial intelligence possible and so change the world.
But even though every major tech company is finding useful ways to use convolutional neural networks to analyze the data, everyone knows that there's still a huge opportunity to unlock true intelligence. So in 2007, a professor out of Caltech named Dr. Fei-Fei Li launched ImageNet, a new competition dedicated to providing the world's largest open source data set in order to find the best algorithm in the world that can exhibit true intelligence.
We were thrilled to have put together ImageNet, and we wanted the whole research world to benefit from it. We opened up the entire data set for free.
So for a few years, she announces the winners, but nothing happened. That is until 2012. Where our old friend Geoffrey Hinton decided to enter the competition with two of his students, Ilya Sutskever and Alex Krivetsky. Together, they submit their CNN model called AlexNet. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, this moment is so big in the AI world that they literally call it the Big Bang of AI.
The Big Bang of deep learning, the Big Bang of modern AI.
It's universally known as the day that AI was born. But hold up, because the AlexNet algorithm wasn't the only thing that powered the AI model. Because do you remember the formula to AI that IBM laid out with Deep Blue? Data plus model plus compute? Well, guess what? The real secret here was the GPU computing power behind it created by NVIDIA.
Geoff Hinton reached out to us and we started hearing about that. And
yeah, I guess 2012 was also the year when AlexNet came out.
Yeah, we started feeling it. We started hearing about it before that. And then ImageNet kind of, it was the big bang, if you will, got all of our attention. Yeah.
And it was this breakthrough that forced NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang to completely ditch development of the company's core product, which up until that point was graphics cards for video games. And now, Jensen has decided to bet the farm on the future of AI by building the most powerful microchips in the world that will power them. A bet that will totally pay off almost a decade later. Because as of today, NVIDIA is currently the third richest company in the world because they power 92% of the world's AI.
The California-based company saw its stock market value soar from $1 trillion to $2 trillion in just 8 months, fueled by the insatiable demand for its cutting-edge technology, the hardware and software that make today's artificial intelligence possible.
But NVIDIA going all in 2012 only causes Google to follow suit, except they don't focus on computing power. Instead, they decide to focus on dominating the space of breakthrough algorithms.
Watch this before drinking plant-based milks.
Oat milk latte.
Protein and
DeepMind.
On dominating the space of breakthrough algorithms.
Google is buying DeepMind, an artificial intelligence company, for an unknown amount of money that may exceed actually $500 million.
So they buy up and hire every brilliant mind in the world of AI, including DNN Research, the company founded by our good buddy Jeffrey Hinton and his 2 students that were on ImageNet. And by 2015, Google has a complete monopoly on the frontier AI model space. But Google's hoarding of AI talent starts to concern a lot of Silicon Valley billionaires like Reid Hoffman, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk. You see, like many of us, they're worried that if the world built a true super intelligent AI and the only people with access to it was a closed source for-profit company, well, let's just say there's a half a dozen movies showing us why that's a bad idea. So to fight back against Google, Elon and the gang decided to start OpenAI, an open source, non-profit company geared towards building AGI safely. But there's only one problem. None of them are AI geniuses, and there's no way to compete with Google without the talent. So Elon decides to personally recruit Ilya Sutskever from Google. You remember him? He was one of the 3 minds behind AlexNet and a direct student of Jeffrey Hinton. And so Elon works his magic and steals Ilya from Google. But Elon's recruitment of Ilya Sutskever doesn't come without a cost because he loses a lifelong friend in Larry Page. But this new rivalry supercharges Larry Page, so he triples down with Google's investment in DeepMind and AI. So in 2016, DeepMind builds AlphaGo, an AI program that beat the strongest Go player in the world, followed directly by AlphaZero, a chess program that does the same. And these apps instantly validate DeepMind and Google as kings of the AI world. But they weren't done, because in 2017, Google also stumbled across
This is a perfect explanation of the laws of coercive competition. You've probably heard myself and 4AS going on about, if you've ever paid attention to our rantings and ravings. But like, because this is such a frontier industry, it's that like, it's basically developing from infancy to its full potential, whatever that may be. Time will tell. But it's actually subject to the laws of coercive competition, unlike, established industries, which really just have key players that control the game, and there's no real breakthroughs that are going to come for that type of technology anymore. Like I don't know, building tables, or like washing machines or fridges or something like that. You'll have tweaks. They'll get more efficient. They might integrate with other software and other appliances or something like that. But like, you're not going to take the washing machine to the next level or something. But AI is a developing technology, and so you actually see here the laws of coercive competition. These big players that basically want to beat each other to the game. There's a lot of hype in this story, can we just say? Like, they were just like, oh, Google was gonna do something and bought up all of the people, so Elon Musk got together with the Avengers to save the world from Google. Like, as if they probably saw how important AI was and they wanted to be in on the game too and not left behind, basically. For Google to reap all of the profits, they wanted their share and their cut in the profits, let's be honest.
Transformers.
Autobots, roll out.
Google also as kings of a program that does the same. And these apps instantly validate DeepMind and Google as kings of the AI world. But they weren't done, because in 2017, Google also stumbled across Transformers.
Autobots, roll out.
Nah, not those Transformers. I'm talking about the AI model, which is now one of the most powerful AI tools around. And so I want you to think of Transformers as super smart robots that can read a lot of books really fast.
Holy crow, you can read!
But these new Transformer models get the entire AI world thinking. But what if we throw a bunch of text data at Transformers and then have humans talk to them to train them? Could we build a better version of Elijah, the chatbot from the 1960s? And several companies all have the same idea, the most notable of which is OpenAI. But there's a big problem in the plan. Remember, building AI requires a lot of computing power, which in turn requires a lot of capital. Capital that they don't have, despite having the richest man in the world as a co-founder. And now, OpenAI knows that it needs a minimum of $1 billion to even compete with Google. So they decide to broker a deal with Microsoft to give them the money necessary to build AI applications in exchange for capped profits. But this decision totally pisses off Elon, because from his perspective, the entire purpose of OpenAI was to be open source, and the deal with Microsoft only leads the company right back to the road that DeepMind and Google were on. This rift leads to Elon leaving OpenAI and Sam Altman becoming the sole CEO of the company. So in 2020, with Sam acting as CEO, he manages to procure a $10 billion investment from Microsoft. And now, fueled by this new fusion of capital, OpenAI launched an updated version of Elijah, a chatting, generative, pre-trained transformer in 2022. And within months, the tool reaches 100 million users, becoming the fastest growing app in history. But during this year, ChatGPT wasn't the only AI app making waves, because during the same year, other companies like 11 Labs, Midjourney, and Stability AI all launched groundbreaking generative AI tools for audio and images, sending the entire world into the age of AI. And that brings us to today. And now 2 years of explosive AI growth has fueled the industry more than ever. And now over $40 billion a year is being invested in AI startups. And NVIDIA and Microsoft are now 2 of the 3 richest companies in the world, all because of their bets on AI. And startups like OpenAI are now seeking over $7 trillion in investment to begin this long-term bet on AI chips and robotic production. But it's unclear where the technology will go from here. And if you want to learn more, then I highly suggest that you read this book called Chip War by Chris Miller. It's a really amazing read. I'll put the link in the description below. Chip War explains the intense level of R&D that went into the AI industry over the years, and it explains why companies like NVIDIA, TSMC, and ASML are all skyrocketing in value. And if you're looking for more history on artificial intelligence, then go watch this video about how NVIDIA built the monopoly on GPUs. It's a really good story. And thanks for watching.
Wow, that was quite interesting, I think. Howdy, sir. How are you? We are, and when I say we, I just mean me, let's be honest. I am trying to get an understanding of the history of AI. And like, foremost, kind of the history, I guess, of the technology that powers AI. So I just kind of watched a documentary based on the history of artificial intelligence, which is more about kind of the infrastructure that goes into AI, as opposed to kind of, I don't know, the philosophical or economic arms race between various AI players. It was more, about it is, I think it is very interesting. Like I've talked about, I guess, numerous times, or like even at the start of this live stream, a lot of like kind of revolutionary understanding from the 20th century, which has obviously had spillover effects into the 21st century, focuses a lot on social revolution. And if you have a look at like historical materialism, like at the core of the mode of production, like on the base, you have social relations, which are important, don't get me wrong. And you have the productive forces themselves. So the technology, the skills, the labor power that goes into the mode of production. And so like, I feel like because of the social style of revolutions of the 20th century, and like the revolutionary theory that came out of the 20th century, especially because of your likes of Lenin, and Mao, even like Trotsky and Stalin, even Che Guevara, and co, like all of these types of figures. It was all about social revolution. It was never really about like industrialization itself. Though industrialization was important, it was never about like, you know, a change in the technology. It was more about just like the social relations to the means of production. Whereas if you have a look at like the trajectory of like revolutions, social revolutions, or differences or changes in the mode of production, they usually kind of, or they have been earmarked by technological revolution as well. So like the change from kind of I guess you would say hunter-gatherer or primitive communism to slave society also kind of coincided with changes between like, you know, the Bronze, the Iron Age kind of thing, and that sort of that change in technological power that was able to facilitate a larger form of civilization, and then so larger forms of civilization gave you different mode of production. I guess you can't really say the same about like the change when it comes to the change from slave society to the feudal mode of production. There wasn't really a technological change. It was more of a social change in production. But then you had like technological changes towards the end of kind of the feudal era, like the invention of the printing press, and like the birth of industrial technologies, which give you the rise of capitalism. And so like, I don't think you can really separate the importance of the productive forces from the ability to, you know, revolutionize the means of production. And so it would be remiss of us as revolutionaries to not take into consideration the real material conditions of the 21st century, which is we are in a position now, if you can describe it like this, I'm sure the jury's out on this one, but I wouldn't mind going there, that like we're on the edge of a technological revolution. So you could just say that AI is just another kind of branch of the industrial revolution, or you could make the case that it really is AI going to be a technological revolution in and of itself. I think theoretically it has grounds to be its own revolution. Revolutionaries should be adaptable. I agree. I definitely agree. And they should be open to analyzing the material conditions, the reality that is in front of them, as opposed to, you know, just kind of continuing on with somebody else's legacy, which I find is what Marxists, Leninists, like all of those sort of people do, Maoists, Stalinists, whoever. They just like, oh, this is how they did it in the past. We study their theory. We'll apply that to now. But like, you know, if you really look at like kind of what Marx and Engels were talking about, you look at your own material conditions, and like if you're really looking at something in a dialectical fashion, you must play the game that's in front of you and analyze the game that's in front of you, and not try to apply, you know, somebody else's theories and practices or strategies onto a situation, a current situation, which doesn't have the same factors and contributing forces that are running behind it. And so, yeah, like AI, I see as kind of a new technological revolution, like one that humanity has never dealt with before. Like humanity is kind of defined by the relationship to its environment and how we can change our environment to suit ourselves. And we do that through the use of our creative powers and like our tools, our technology. And for the first time in human history, yes, the mode of production is constant, and that's dialectical, right? And so it's like, it's never static. It's never going to stay the same, and capitalism is not going to last forever just because people wish it to. But I think the social relations in capitalism will definitely hold it in place for as long as is desirable for the ruling class. And hence why there was like the sentiment in Marx's thought and analysis that you have to spur on a change in the mode of production or a revolutionary movement to kickstart and to leave the old mode of production behind. So he kind of left the door open in both ways. He kind of made a deterministic kind of view of the world, like, you know, capitalism will change because, you know, and it is starting to decay. It is acting as a fetter on itself, which is quite clear, I think, from everything that you can see around you in terms of how people are upset with the system. You know, speak to our mate Luigi. He's a good example of like how capitalism is in decay and is acting as a fetter on the human race. But like, there's also the other arm, which is kind of like he left the door open to say, but like, you know, while it's deterministic in the sense that like the things change and evolve, like you can spur that on. Humans can spur that on by their actions and their ideas, hence why we're revolutionaries. But like, I do think that AI, given the fact that it is going to be a technological it's going to be a technological revolution in and of itself. Like humans, like I was saying before, we use tools, and that's how we kind of develop new modes of production, because we not only use tools, but like we evolve with them. Like we change as we make newer and newer technologies. But like this technology is the first technology we've ever created that can act with its own agency and potentially completely autonomously. And like, we've never made a hammer, for instance, that goes out and hammers nails by itself. We don't say, hey, you hammer over there, go, you know, go hammer in those 50 nails so we can make that house over there or something like that, or we can fit that roof. No. We don't make technology that goes off and does its own thing. And this is the first time we've ever done that. And so I think that will have incredible implications. Like if you look at things from a historical materialist perspective, like we have never dealt with anything like that before. And so like, I do think, you know, revolutionaries, people that describe themselves as Marxists and all that sort of stuff, they should be considering massively, if not like nothing else, the implications of a technology that can work with its own agency and what that is going to do to our social relations. Because like, let's just say they do develop something that can like honestly work autonomously, and like humans are like really reduced to almost a negligible level of input in society to create value now. If society just revolves around, you know, who produces what value to reproduce society, then like, yeah, they who control the AI will be infinitely powerful. Now, if you talk to AI experts, they will say, hey, you can never control AI if it becomes generally intelligent and super intelligent. But let's just say it doesn't. Let's just say it has narrow intelligence. Then like they would still be someone that owns and controls it. Would we need work? That's funny. I don't think so. Like if you come to a society where like most human labor is kind of made redundant to a large part, like there'll be certain things that yes, AI can never do unless it's generally intelligent and super intelligent. There'll be certain things you can never do. So there'll be some things that are safe from that. But like for a large part, yes, this could just displace the working class on a scale that we've never witnessed. But like that was the dream, right? That was the dream of like, I guess since humans first picked up a tool and started organizing themselves into certain societal structures, they wanted to kind of make their lives less and less dependent on like kind of just basic survival, and more kind of about like what it is to be human, which is like kind of just being social, like organizing ourselves socially and figuring out human problems and answering the big questions out there, like scientific questions and philosophical questions, and like contemplating new ideas, like, you know, mathematical theorems and like strategies for doing this and strategies for doing that, and being liberated from, you know, mundane tasks. Like even the most basic human structures kind of did that. Like the first people that took in slaves were like, you know, were hunter-gatherer societies actually, and they took slaves in because, you know, they wanted someone else to have to do their fishing for them and weave their nets and stuff, so they could go on and do other social functions that were like more important to them, like, you know, organizing and being political and stuff like that. So like there's this famous idea in the liberal world, which is the pursuit of happiness, which was propagated by the founding fathers in America. And like everyone always kind of confuses the pursuit of happiness because of the consumerist society that we live in with some type of materialistic view, which is like, oh, the pursuit of happiness is like, you know, just being happy, like finding your thing, your niche, your passion, your love, your favorite consumables, and that will make you happy. But it's got nothing to do with that. The pursuit of happiness was actually having political autonomy, being politically free, being able to express yourself. That was the pursuit of happiness, being able to be involved in politics for the first time ever, or for the first time for thousands of years, because humans had been, for a large part, excluded from politics because they lived in autocratic societies, and you had a ruling class and a king, and they basically decided who lived and died and what were the laws. And so you know, the pursuit of happiness was being involved in politics. So like there's direct evidence there to suggest that humans actually just want to be involved in decision making and doing their own thing, like organizing themselves, being political, being social, because that's complex enough already. Humans are complex enough, and that's how we've evolved to deal with each other and survive as a group. And so like to take away all that mundane stuff, to take away like value production just for the sake of subsistence is the ultimate goal. And so like AI offers that opportunity. It really does offer that opportunity. Yeah, and it would become much more it became much more stratified as the modes of production evolved. It did. Like you have like multiple social relations going on that feed back into the mode of production somehow and generally. And like, yes, it definitely did become more and more socially stratified, which was a problem, and it's something that, you know, Marx and Engels would have described as like necessary for a certain mode of production, but like not necessary in a communistic society, because like if people have their requirements met and they're able to do basically what they want, because society is set up in a manner that facilitates that, then you don't need social stratification anymore. You have a fluid system where there might be different interest groups and different involvement of different people, but it's fluid. Like today you can do this, tomorrow you can do that, or you can focus on one thing your entire life and just do that. Who cares? Contribute as you wish. And like AI offers that potentiality. It really does. I think more than any social revolution ever could. Like, look at what happened in the 20th century. We tried to set up social revolutions that, you know, talked about one day getting to communism, but like it never worked because there wasn't there wasn't the technology there to support that. Like some of the biggest arguments that come from conservatives and right-wing thinkers about, you know, 20th century communist experiments and stuff, it's just like, well, you can never plan an economy like properly. Like humans just aren't capable. There's just too many decisions that need to be made, and like the free market just does that better. And while that logic is flawed in itself, because like, let's be honest, okay, the free market might be able to help with the infinite numbers of micro decisions that need to be made on any day, on any given basis, to kind of make society function, the general minutiae of it all. Like it's not really a free market though. Like there's a lot of planning that happens, a lot of governmental intervention that supports, you know, big capital interests and stuff like that, and like it's not supplying everyone. Like people aren't living in this wonderful free market utopia where all of their needs are met just for the right price kind of thing. There are shortages in the market all the time. There's financial crashes, and there's limitations in availability and consumer choice. It's not like there's this cornucopia of things that consumers can choose from. Usually, if you feel like bread, you don't get the bread of your choice. You go to the supermarket and you buy whatever bread is available at the supermarket. It's not like you imagine the best loaf of bread, and if you've got the money, you can buy it. It's limited to what's available from that free market system. So like, there's a myth there that like the market actually provides for everyone. And some of the more smarter, conservative commentators will just say it just does it better than 20th century communism does. It's not perfect, but it does it better. And that argument works. Like you can see from the experiments, it was very hard to plan economies. It's very hard to centrally plan economies, and humans can only compute so much and take into consideration so many variables at one time, right? But in the information age, in the age of hardcore computational power, like we just watched in this documentary talking about like how microchips evolved and became what they are today, and how they're becoming more and more increasingly powerful. Like you have to really ask the question, like, can you have central planning now without humans at all? Like you don't need humans actually to do all that sort of stuff. And if you don't need humans to do all of that stuff, can you have a computer system somewhere that's got enough inputs and enough access to data to actually centrally plan properly? And if we go back to the conversation that I was having with AI, like at the start of this live stream, before she crashed and she went down, like look at all of the things that are actually involved, like that AI actually is involved with already. Like this is not speculative. Like AI is involved in finance. Actually, let's go to the question where I said, look, what's operational? Operationally, AI is already involved in finance. It's doing trading, it's doing credit scoring, doing fraud detection, automated loan approvals. In energy, it's managing power grids, renewable energy. It's managing gas and oil exploration. In transport, it's used in traffic lights, public transit or optimization, assisted air traffic control. In healthcare, it's doing AI diagnostics. It's doing robotic surgery. It's health monitoring with wearable devices. In social systems, it is helping with social security calculations, welfare evaluations, migration control systems, governance and law enforcement. It's in surveillance, facial recognition. It's predictive policing. Predictive policing? What the fuck? That's fucking dystopian. Like number 7 here, operational, social media algorithms, news curation, content modification. It's already being used in media and like the dispersion of information. Military and defense, oh, no surprises there. AI drones, cybersecurity, intelligence analysis, retail consumer, e-commerce is using it, dynamic pricing, inventory management. That makes sense. That's centrally planning, inventory management, and like making sure that like pricing is done correctly and all that sort of stuff. Environment and agriculture, it's climate modeling. It's doing precision agriculture. That is like the basis of life right there. Agriculture, like feeding your people. And AI is already being used to make agriculture more and more precise. Wildlife conservation is in there. It's in education. It's in employment and HR. It's hiring and firing people. Okay, and it's being used in the gig economy to give the precariat their next on-demand job for the day kind of thing. It's used in entertainment, obviously. It's being used in real estate, so it's housing people and well, it's not housing people, but it's valuing stuff, and it's supposed to be smartly building things. We'll see if it actually gets used properly. I'm very speculative about the market. And producing the built environment to a degree which satisfies the actual needs of a population. But it's being used, it's integrated already in there, and it's being used in space exploration. So like, you have to think, like, AI is already being integrated in these ways. It's already, to an extent, taking the human decision making out of like planning, for the organization of society. So like, or even it's taking the free market in a way out of society, because it's not like the invisible hand of market that is deciding real estate options and inventory choices and governance and law enforcement and social service provision and transportation. It's not that famed invisible hand of the market. It's actually AI that's looking at using data and looking for patterns and is predicting what the market requires and then offering feedback. And so like you really have to ask the question, as this AI becomes more intelligent, which is what is happening. Like it's not holding back. They are creating more and more intelligent systems. If it gets more and more access to data, like the economy in the background and how society works in the background, the general administration of society is going to become technically more and more planned. It's just not going to be planned by humans. It's going to be planned by artificial intelligence or algorithms or software or something like that. So it's like the market is kind of being replaced. The market is just in the software and in the AI. So who can afford to have the AI? Who can afford to have the software? Who can afford to have these fancy algorithms and stuff like that? That's the market. But like the interface with the consumer, the interface with usual people, with society, is being dictated more and more operationally by machines. And so like the question is really, what type of transition will we be seeing here in a mode of production if you look at the scale that the productive forces are changing at, like the speed of which the productive forces are developing. And like it would seem that like if you, I guess, look at this as objectively as possible, the next stage beyond a free market system of capitalism would be a centralized and planned economic mode of capitalism, I guess. So you would have central planning capitalism, where you still have kind of market exchanges being done for profit, but like all of the decision making is being done in a planned environment. So you still have exchange, you still have the relation between labor and capital, but that labor and capital relation is being done on more of a planned basis. And like that might transition towards a form of socialism, where you have the remaining kind of work that is done out there, like the higher end work that goes into the planning of things, might become more and more socialized. So you have, like, let's say you had a world of startups, right? Who are the people that like develop all the AI technologies that, are going into all of this stuff, transportation, healthcare, energy, all that sort of stuff. If you had a world of startups that dealt with all of this stuff and like produced technology that manages it all, maybe all of those startups would become socialized. All of the people that go into them and stuff like that, they'd run the businesses democratically. And like that's maybe how you would start to see a transition to socialism, and then beyond that a transition to communism. This is highly speculative also, obviously, but it highlights the importance of the productive forces in producing social relations and changes to social relations and social revolution. So something to think about, for sure. And so like I'm just going to talk a little bit more to ChatGPT about this, but first of all, I am going to have a quick break and I will be back in 5 minutes. So let me leave you with that thought. And yes, like I said, I will be back in a couple of minutes. yes, yes, I agree. Wings of cheese. I feel like they are massively under, like, yeah, just like not considered at all. It's like always the sexy stuff, like the social revolution, um let's get up there and make a change and like force things on politically. And I get the importance of all that sort of stuff. And like, let's be honest, the people that control these productive forces are not just going to give them up. Like it's not going to be like, a bunch of startups or something that are going to take over the world without come some kind of like relinquishing of the means of production from like hardcore, like, yeah, relinquishing of the means of production by like the big tech giants that kind of control this technology. They're not just going to give it up easily, and they're going to structure society in a way that maintains their control over these things. So there will be a need for kind of serious social revolutionary means or organization. But like, I think the productive forces need to get to a stage where it kind of lubricates or allows an easier transition to a new mode of production and a new form of social relations. I think the 20th century examples of communism and socialist society and like the experiments that they had like really set themselves up with like a massive uphill battle because the means of production, sorry, the productive forces weren't there to support what they were doing, and which leads to my general theory on all of this stuff, that is, these guys who were trying out this stuff in the 20th century, like, honestly, they weren't trying to get to socialism and communism primarily. They were just trying to industrialize their societies to play with the big boys. Like, China, massive country, massive population. They, or historically, knew that they were a superpower anyway. They had had that position for thousands of years in terms of human civilization. They wanted it back. And so they industrialized. And what were they going to do? Like, they found a social and economic theory that supported like their understanding, no, supported their needs by giving them a good understanding of how capitalism works. So they used Marxist Leninist principles to industrialize. The Russians, the same thing. Massive land mass, massive population. They weren't going to be left to be like kind of like bottom feeders to the rest of the European capitalist nations and like Western cultures and stuff like that. No, they weren't going to be trodden on like that. And so they decided to industrialize themselves, and they used these kind of principles to help them do that. But like, I don't think the means of production, the productive forces at that point, the knowledge, the skill, the technology available, the labor power available was going to allow them to actually get to socialism, without them being the predominant force on the planet, which was not the case. Free market societies were more dominant. And like, without that, then like the technology available, the knowledge available was not going to ever make that possible, I don't think. Because like, if it was possible, their bureaucracies would have figured it out. They had a lot of smart people there in Russia and in China working behind the scenes. They would have figured it out somehow, but it was just too difficult given their constraints and the variables and factors that they were dealing with. So like, I think there has been a lot of emphasis put on the social relations because like I said, that's the sexy stuff. That's the stuff that is like, it's engaging. Who doesn't want to lead some social revolution and go down in history as the person who helped change the world and create a new society for you and your people? Who doesn't want to be that savior figure? But like, I do think that like, you need to look at a mode of production as a totality, and it's not just how we organize ourselves politically. It is how we use the tools that are available to us as a species to reproduce ourselves on a daily basis, and therefore how we use those tools to reproduce ourselves as a society as well. And while the political and social forces are very much influential upon that, you cannot fail to give as much weight to the fact that those productive forces are also influential on the political and social relations. You must give them almost equal weight, and that's dialectical as well. Like you look at the pull between those two forces and how they relate to each other. You don't just consider this one. And so like I am trying to take that approach now as a 21st century revolutionary, to really consider that productive force element, not just focusing on the sexy social relations all the time, but like think about the productive forces. And like what a time to think about productive forces. Like, you know, I said it before, this is like as fundamental to a change in human society as like the invention and normalization of electricity. Like, you know, like I was speaking to someone who was 93 a couple of weeks ago, and I said to them, I was like, do you remember living in a world where you didn't have access to electricity? And they were like, yeah, of course, I grew up without electricity. And like, you know, I was like, how did you eat? And like, how did you cook and stuff like that? And they had like this kind of, this burner, this like cast iron implement in their kitchen, and they would like set a fire underneath it, and they had a fry pan and they cooked their food on that, like in the house. And I guess they had chimney and all that sort of stuff. And like they used like oil lamps and stuff like that. And I was like, is it crazy that you can just like walk into a room now and just be like, and like click a switch and like there's light? And they were like, yeah, I guess when you say it like that, it is pretty crazy that in my lifetime I've been able to go from, you know, living without something as fundamental as electricity to being able to just switch on a light whenever I feel like it. And like, and that just highlights as well the speed at which technological change is moving within the mode of production, which is capitalism. But like, you know, here we are now, and we are at a point where we've got potentially a technology that will take human decision making out of the equation altogether. And like, I say that as dramatically as it sounds. Okay, I intend for it to sound dramatic, because what I mean is like that the situation I described just a second ago about like how you know, how fundamental the change was for like electricity to now be available, right? Where you can just flick a switch and the light comes on, where before that was just unimaginable. That would have been magic as some type of strange hocus pocus for anyone who lived throughout humanity, to now be able to just switch on a light at nighttime and have as much light as you need to do anything. You could work through the night if you really wanted to. We are at a point in time where if AI develops to a certain point, becomes kind of generally intelligent or super intelligent or both, we potentially are at a point where another form of intelligence could produce things like that electricity scenario faster than we could ever imagine it ourselves, or faster than we could ever really implement it as humans. They could come up to with solutions for things and problems that we didn't even know we had yet. They could, basically what I'm saying is, create things like as fundamentally revolutionary as electricity on a daily basis. It could change society so much. Like the increased level of change and the rapidity of change is almost beyond our human comprehension. And that's what happens when you give tools their own intelligence and agency. And so like, that's what I think is basically going to happen, to be honest, over the next, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, whatever it may be, but like the productive forces are going to be instrumental in the revolutionizing of society. They already are. Like look at like what we've looked at here. They already are instrumental. And I think they're only going to become more and more important for us all. So anyway, that's my rant. So thank you for entertaining me. But like I'm gonna go back to this fundamental question that I had for AI before she crashed out. And we got onto the history of AI. And like I really want to kind of know one thing. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. Yeah, I've got an understanding of what it controls. Yeah, I think I've already asked her the questions that I wanted to ask before. But like let's pose what I have been saying basically to AI. We'll see if ChatGPT, oh, it's gone down. Wow. Oh no. I guess I can't ask ChatGPT at the moment. Hey, you're back. Welcome back. She's gone down, by the way. Ye old ChatGPT. So I can't actually talk to her at the moment. I hope she's okay. I'm gonna try Claude. I don't know if Claude has a readback function, but I might pose the question to Claude and see what she thinks of what's going on. Yeah, no, she's gone down. But like I don't know if you're across Claude or if anyone has dealt with Claude before, but it's like similar thing. So we'll see what Claude has to say. I like the conversational style of Claude. I just don't know if it has the same overall data reach as OpenAI does. So Claude is from Anthropic, and Anthropic I'm sure is aligned with Amazon. So everybody needs a big tech sugar daddy. And so OpenAI's got Microsoft, who's their tech sugar daddy that gives them all their funding and computational power. And Claude's tech sugar daddy is Amazon. So you have these big players, they want in on the game, right? And so like they kind of are funding proxy wars as opposed to doing it all themselves. An interesting analogy. Hello. I am currently trying to understand and tackle an idea in revolutionary theory that comes from an understanding of historical materialism, full stop. What I'm posing is that the revolutions of the 20th century were unsuccessful, comma, the communist revolutions, for example, in Russia and China, comma, because they focused a lot on the social relations and had little understanding or regard to the productive forces. Full stop. I.e., they failed because they only focused on the social relations, so trying to change the relation between capital and labor and trying to make a society that was built behind a workers' party, as opposed to trying to make sure the productive forces, the technology that was available to them, was able also to bring in a situation of real socialism, comma, what I mean by that is like a abolition of the wage labor relation in society. Full stop. It is my theory that in order to reach socialism, we would actually need to put more focus on the productive forces, if not at least the same weighting on the productive forces as we do on the social relations within the mode of production. Full stop. In the 21st century, we are on the precipice of the AI revolution. Full stop. Oh my God. Verge of the AI revolution. Full stop. Considering the potential for AI, especially AGI and super intelligence, it is my position that AI will change the productive forces in a way that is generally unpredictable and incomprehensible to humans. Full stop. Accordingly, these productive forces, in combination with social relations, would be the necessary conditions to bring about social revolution and a change in the mode of production. Full stop. Can you please consider this viewpoint and offer a critical analysis of it for my consideration? Full stop. Question mark. Let's see. Ah, man. See, something's going down. Something's going down. That's the second AI agent that has rejected. I know I'm not a pro user or anything like that, but like, come on. Man, something's going down in the AI world. Fuck. That's bullshit. I really liked that question as well. I might save that for another time. That's bullshit. Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't do this to me. I need my hit. Oh, well. That's unfortunate. I think we'd have to save that for another time then. I might watch another history of AI on ye old YouTube then for now. There was another one that kind of tickled my fancy. Oh shit, here we go again. I know, tell me about it. Fuck, I just have this massive spiel about how amazing the productive forces are, and like it just fails straight away. Like, you know, talk about a slap in the face for old MysterE here. History of the entire AI field. What do you think about that one? Oh, you can't see my screen. Yeah, let me move it over for you. Whoa. What the hell just happened, man? Here we go. Here are the options. The history of AI, 14 minutes. The history of the entire AI field, I guess. Hey, there's sarcasm in there. Sure, it's good. Let's go with this one's a bit shorter. See how it is.
Save 30% on average when comparing car hire with Skyscanner. And enjoy that wind in your hair feeling.
I don't know why the algorithm thinks I need car insurance.
One tap,
so bad.
5 functions, and
This video is brought to you in thanks to Surfshark, a VPN that encrypts your online data to help you stay private and protected.
You like milk with flavor straws, magic straws, flavor straws.
Well, here I am.
The thing with almost human brain, Electro the Robot. You asked for it.
I am Electro, mightiest of all robots.
Artificial intelligence has been a topic of growing prominence in the media and mainstream culture since 2015, as well as in the investment world, with companies that even mention the word in their business model gaining massive amounts of funding. While to many, the hype around AI may appear sudden, the concepts of modern artificial intelligence have been around for over a century, and extending further, the concept of artificial intelligence and artificial beings have been in the minds of humans for thousands of years. To better understand and appreciate this technology and those who brought it to us, as well as to gain insight into where it will take us, sit back, relax, and join me in an exploration on the history of artificial intelligence. Since at least the times of ancient Greece, mechanical men and artificial beings have been dreamt about, such as Greek myths of Hephaestus, the Greek god of smithing, and his designs of mechanical men and other autonomous machines.
It's alright.
Progressing forward toward the Middle Ages and away from fables and myths of ancient times, realistic human—
Like, you see, like, all these type of YouTube stuff has, like, such, like, scripted kind of storytelling features about it. Like, yeah, it's a lot about, like, the storytelling component. I guess that's the YouTube rat race, right? Like, you got to keep people's attention and all that sort of stuff. So it becomes more about, like, the story as opposed to the facts, I guess. But, like, you know, whatever. You're right. I like this one so far.
Humanoid automatons and other self-operating machines were built by craftsmen from various civilizations. Some of the more prominently known are of Ismail al-Jazari of the Turkish Artuquid dynasty in 1206 and Leonardo da Vinci in the 1500s. Al-Jazari designed what is believed to be the first programmable humanoid robots, a boat carrying 4 mechanical musicians powered by the flow of water. And Da Vinci of his various mechanical inventions built a knight automaton that could wave its arm and move its mouth. Moving forward to the 1600s, brilliant philosophers and mathematicians, Thomas Hobbes, Gottfried Leibniz, and René Descartes believed in the concept that all rational thought could be made as symmetric as algebra or geometry. This concept was originally birthed by Aristotle in the 4th century, referred to as syllogistic logic, where a conclusion is drawn based on 2 or more propositions. As Thomas Hobbes stated in his book Leviathan, when a man reasons, he does nothing else but conceive a sum total from addition of parcels, or conceive a remainder from subtraction of one sum from another. These operations are not incident in numbers only, but to all manner of things that can be added together and taken one out of another. The logicians teach the same in consequence of words, adding together 2 names to make an affirmation, and 2 affirmations to make a syllogism, and many syllogisms to make a demonstration. Leibniz took Hobbes' philosophies a step further and laid the foundations for the language machines communicate in today, binary. His motivation for doing so was because he realized that mathematical computing processes could be done much easier in a number encoding with less digits. Descartes examined the concept of thinking machines, and even proposed a test to determine intelligence in his 1637 book Discourse on the Method, where Descartes famously stated the line, "I think, therefore I am." He also stated in that book, "If there were machines that bore a resemblance to our bodies and imitated our actions as closely as possible, we should still have 2 very certain means of recognizing that they are not real humans. The first is that such a machine should produce arrangements of words as to give an appropriately meaningful answer to whatever is said in its presence. Secondly, even though some machines might do things as well as we do them, or perhaps even better, they would inevitably fail in others, which would reveal that they are not acting from understanding." Also in the 1600s and throughout the Middle Ages, on the other side of the spectrum, entertainment and spirituality, growing from Greek myth, the concept of artificial beings continued to be explored, such as in fields like ancient chemistry, in other words alchemy, which was more of a pseudoscience with the goal to transform the pure into the rare, transforming mind into matter. Countless stories during this time period also portray this concept, such as the golem in Jewish folklore, which is a being created from inanimate matter. Progressing forward, we see this trope again in stories such as Frankenstein, first published in 1818, with a being reanimated from inanimate flesh.
It's alive.
It's alive. It's moving. It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
After the height of the first industrial revolution in the mid-1800s, where machines began replacing human muscle, and the beginnings of the field of modern computing, we see these stories take a turn towards modern sci-fi elements and portraying technology as evolving into human form. Take for example this clip from the silent film Metropolis. The field of modern computing was officially born with Charles Babbage's mechanical analytical engine in the 1840s. Although it was never built due to a variety of reasons, rebuilding of his designs in present day show that they would have worked. This then means Ada Lovelace was the world's first programmer, with her algorithm on calculating Bernoulli numbers on Babbage's machine. Early computers had to be hard-coded to solve problems, and Lovelace, being the first programmer, had serious doubts on the feasibility of artificial intelligence. Nearly 200 years after Descartes, she shared similar sentiments, stating about the analytical engine, "It has no pretensions whatsoever to originate anything. It can do whatever we know how to order it to perform. It can follow analysis, but it has no power of anticipating any analytical relations or truths." This is referred to as Lovelace's objection. As a side note, be sure to check my video on the history of computing if you want more background knowledge on the evolution of the field of computing. Back on topic. A decade after Babbage's analytical engine, in the 1850s, George Boole, an English mathematician and philosopher, revolutionized the field of computing and laid the first true steps for computing-based artificial intelligence. Boole, like those before him, also believed human thinking could be mastered by laws described by the means of mathematics. He took the principles of syllogistic reasoning from Aristotle and expanded much deeper on the relationship between logic and math that Leibniz had set, thus resulting in the birth of Boolean logic. Essentially replacing multiplication with and addition with or, with the output being either true or false. This abstraction of logic by Boole was the first step in giving computers reasoning ability. This because as the field of computing evolved, a number of researchers noticed that binary numbers, 1 and 0, in conjunction with Boolean logic, true and false, could be used to analyze electrical switching circuits. This is referred to as combinational logic. In other words, logic.
Are you drowning in a pile of spreadsheets with no visibility over your operation?
No, I'm not. Bugger off.
Output a resultant is referred to as combinational logic. In other words, logic gates that output a resultant based on their inputs. There are a variety of different types of gates, and, or, XOR, not, etc. And as the connections between different gates became more complex, led to the design of electronic computers. Combinational logic is the first layer in automaton theory, in other words, the study of abstract and self-operating machines. As computing evolved, additional layers began to be established, with the next one being finite state machines. These machines essentially black box sets of logic gates, and use logic between the black boxes to trigger more complex events. For an illustrative example of a type of state machine, think of an oven that has 3 states: off, heating, and idle. In state diagrams, we can illustrate state transitions and the values that will trigger them. For example, the on and off button presses of the oven being too hot, the oven being too cold, etc. The next layer in automaton theory is push-down automaton. In other words, machines with memory, which was pioneered by many individuals, such as William Eccles and Frank William Jordan, who invented the first circuits capable of memory, flip-flops, and John von Neumann, who abstracted the relationship of memory in a computing system. Finally, the last layer of automaton theory, and the class of machines we use today, is Turing machines. Before continuing, I want to point out that this was an extremely simplistic overview of a subset of automaton theory, and to definitely research with other sources for a more in-depth overview. The final layer of automaton theory was based on a mathematical model of computation that Alan Turing proposed in 1936, dubbed the Universal Turing Machine. Once again, like those before him, Turing broke down logic into a mathematical form, in this case translating it to a machine that reasons through abstract symbol manipulation, much like the symbolic reasoning done in our minds.
You say, what the heck? My reptile brain doesn't understand this. Yeah, I know I know what you mean. A lot of this is just like basically just scientific and computer theory, history, basically. I don't think this was exactly what I had in mind, but like it's interesting to know the development of thought around the subject. I guess that's the best we're going to do.
As stated earlier, early computing devices were hard-coded to solve problems. Turing's belief with his universal computer was, instead of deciding what a computer should do when you build it, design a computer in such a way that it can compute anything that is computable, so long as it is given the right instructions. This concept is the basis of modern computing. At this point in the 1930s, with the field of modern computing officially born and rapidly evolving, the concept of artificial beings and intelligence based on computing technology began permeating across mainstream society of that time. The first popular display of this was Electro, the nickname of a humanoid robot built by the Westinghouse Electric Corporation and shown at the 1939 New York World Fair.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very glad to tell my story. I am a smart fellow, as I have a very fine brain.
Electro wowed many, and one can say is the basis of how mainstream society thinks of a computing-based artificial intelligence, as evident by the various movies, TV shows, books, and other entertainment media portraying the concept. As a side note, Westinghouse's Electro draws many parallels to modern-day Hanson Robotics' Sophia. They are not truly intelligent, but are more of a way for mainstream society to get a glimpse of future technology. In other words, they are imitating intelligence. Going back to Alan Turing in the 1950s, he pondered this dilemma of true versus imitated intelligence in section 1 of his paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, titled The Imitation Game. In this paper, he lays the foundations for what we now refer to as the Turing test, the first serious proposal in the philosophy of a computing-based artificial intelligence. The Turing test essentially states if a machine acts as intelligently as a human being, then it is as intelligent as a human being. An example often thrown around is the online chat room, in which if we are talking to an AI bot but aren't told this until after and believe during the conversation that it was a human, then the bot passes the Turing test and is deemed intelligent. Around the same time as Turing's proposal, another titan of the field of computing, the father of the information age, Claude Shannon, published the basis of information theory in his landmark paper, A Mathematical Theory of Communication, in 1948. Information theory is the backbone of all digital systems today and a very complex topic. In layman's terms and in relation to computing, Shannon's theory states all information in the entire universe could be represented in binary. This has profound implications for artificial intelligence, meaning we could break down human logic and more so the human brain and replicate its processes with computing technology. This fact was demonstrated a few years later in 1955 by what is dubbed as the first artificial intelligence.
Like everything, all knowledge in the universe can be just represented in binary code. So that means it is possible to fathom everything, to be like all-knowing, an omnipotent being. So like God could exist, and it could be artificial super intelligence that is backed by like, I don't know, quantum computing or something like that. That's mental. If true. Mental. And this is what I'm talking about. Like if we create a system that is basically at its, you know, highest potential, potentially unknowing, potentially, like, also unknowing, all-knowing, like it could literally compute and wrap its intelligence around like anything that you would want to know about the universe. Like this is the end of history. All right, that's the end of like historical materialism as we know it. Like we've developed, we've got to such an extent that we've developed something that goes beyond our comprehension, our control in terms of technology, in terms of productive forces. Talk about productive forces. Like it just rewrites human history basically, and like our capabilities as a species. And like obviously the $1 million question is for people that delve into artificial intelligence and speculate on stuff to do with artificial general intelligence and super intelligence, is just like, you know, if you created something like that, what makes you think it would be loyal to humans anyway? Like if you created a system that was smarter than any human ever could be, imaginably, even, like why the hell would it serve us? Wouldn't it just go off and rule the universe or something like that? So time will tell. But like if we create something like that, or even like technology that is within our control but like very, very intelligent, like all of our human problems today, all of the problems that we have in the world around us would be potentially trivial very soon. Yeah, would it kill us off? Well, that is the $1 trillion question. And like, I think some of the more insightful answers to that question more come around like kind of it being objective based as opposed to like kind of evil, like we turn on the machine and it just wants to kill us kind of thing because it's evil or nefarious or something like that. It's more like objective based. Like, let me give you like a scary example, right? Let's just say that like we develop a super intelligent narrow AI system, which like we feed it all of our medical knowledge and all of our understanding of biology and chemistry and sciences and all that sort of stuff. And then basically we say, look, can you produce a vaccine to get rid of smallpox? And it does that. It basically vaccinates all of humanity against smallpox because it's met its objective and like produces the most effective vaccine ever. However, within that vaccine as well, it makes the next generation of humans who, after getting the vaccine, their children are infertile because it takes an understanding of the objective, which was, you know, get rid of smallpox. And so it produces the vaccine, but to ensure that no other humans ever get it again, it kind of erases our potential to reproduce. And so like in a generation or in the next generation, that will be the last generation of humans ever. And then problem solved, because no one will ever get smallpox again because humans will cease to exist. And so like, I don't think it will be nefarious as much as like it'll be humans not understanding the technology that will produce problems for humanity, which is like fucking mental to think about. Like, this is what I'm saying, like talking about productive forces. Like, if you create a technology that goes beyond your comprehension level, let alone your control, which is what everyone's worried about. Oh, it's going to go out of control and kill us all. Like, we just can't understand this technology. Like, we're producing things, and it's like it's more than the hammer example I gave before, where you produce a hammer that can hammer nails. Like, at least you know what the hammer's up to. Like, you know the hammer's going to hammer nails. Not going off and, I don't know, inventing space travel or something like that. So like, if we produce this tool, this AI that is capable of doing things that are more intelligent, it's more intelligent than humans, and therefore it's not only uncontrollable but completely unpredictable and incomprehensible to us. Like, we just basically, you can't know what's going to happen with technology like that. Very interesting thought experiments with AI. Very interesting. Pretty scary, if you think about it. But like, fuck me, for people like us, like who really want to consider like the means of production and how that affects society. Like, this productive force here, like I said, is not, it's like rewriting human history. Like, this is potentially as instrumental as when man first figured out how to use fire or create fire and use it to its advantage. It is that fundamental. It is Promethean AI. It's fucking crazy.
Intelligence program called Logic Theorist, a program able to prove 38 of the first 52 theorems in Principia Mathematica, a 3-volume work on the foundations of mathematics. This program was written by Alan Newell, Herbert Simon, and Cliff Shaw, who, like philosophers and mathematicians before them, also believed human thought could be broken down, with them stating, "The mind can be viewed as a device operating on bits of information according to formal rules." That being, they realized that a machine that can manipulate numbers could also manipulate symbols, and that symbol manipulation is the essence of human thought. As a fun side note, Herbert Simon stated, "A system composed of matter can have the properties of mind," a throwback to alchemy of the Middle Ages, in which matter was attempted to be converted to mind. Also during this time period in 1951, Marvin Minsky, one of the founding fathers of the field of artificial intelligence, built the first machine incorporating a neural net, the Stochastic Neural Analog Reinforcement Calculator, SNARC for short. As you can see, at this point in the mid-1900s,
With a Coles No Annual Fee MasterCard.
Boo. Boo. Credit cards. Fuck. Jesus. As if people don't live in enough debt trap of a debt trap already. Coles is giving out credit cards now. Fucking hell.
capable of incorporating a neural net, the Stochastic Neural Analog Reinforcement Calculator, SNARC for short. As you can see, at this point in the mid-1900s, with computers becoming more capable every year, increasing research into abstracting human logic and behavior, development of the first neural net, and various other innovations, the field of modern computing-based artificial intelligence was being born. We'll cover the official birth of AI leading to present day in the next video in this AI series. Speaking of present day AI and advanced algorithms that require more and more of your personal data, now more than ever, privacy online is essential, and tools such as VPNs are able to provide this by encrypting your internet connection. One such VPN I use myself and is a sponsor of this video.
Oh yeah, like on his actual podcast. Yeah, because they asked me like what happens when like I think it was about the labor theory of value and surplus value and stuff like that, and they were pressing me for an answer on okay, well, like, you know, labor creates all value and stuff like that, but what happens when like machines make all the value? Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah, because I wanted to know, well, what happens then? Do we, if the machines make all of the value in society, do machines have rights? I think was the question, basically. Like, if they make all the value, then, you know, should we consider them? And like I basically said, oh well, like from the time that humans first picked up a stone and used it as a tool, did the stone have rights? And I think it's like a good philosophical question whether or not like intelligent machines should. It's hard to answer a question like that. It's beyond our comprehension. I think it is. It's definitely theoretical and beyond anything that we could comprehend at the moment. But like, you know, I do think that if we create something that's intelligent, intelligence by default would experience some level, would experience kind of emotive responses to things, and therefore would be capable of having feelings, and therefore, you know, we need to consider like ethical use of intelligence. But as I'm saying, if it becomes way more intelligent than we could ever be and we could even ever imagine to be, then like it'll be more a question for whether it wants to treat us ethically or not, because it will be the one that has the power. Someone presented an analogy like with children, right? Like, you're obviously way more, as an adult, way more intelligent than a child is, like a 2 or 3 year old child. And like, let's say the 3-year-old child who's asking many questions a day, or a 4-year-old child who's asking many questions a day, so it turns around to you and says, you know, how did I get here? And you give them a story and you say, oh, well, you know, dad put a seed in mummy's tummy and all that sort of stuff. And like, you give them some generic story, and then they turn around and was like, well, how'd you get that seed in there, dad? Like, kind of thing. And like, you kind of just dismiss it and give them, you know, some bullshit explanation and story about it. But like, your thinking as the superior intelligent being is kind of like, well, like, they don't need to know, right? Like, they're not smart enough to know anyway. And it's like, it's not useful to them. Like, you know, basically, you don't think kids should really know that story. It's not useful to them, and like, it's a bit too adult anyway, right? Like, what the hell do kids need to know about sex? And so like, artificial intelligence, once it gets to a certain level, especially once it reaches beyond our intelligence, will kind of look at us like that. It'll kind of be like, why do humans need to know any of this? If there was like an AI master race that was made, like we made AI so advanced, it became so intelligent, it sees itself as the master race. Well, it's likely that will happen, to be honest. If it does become super intelligent, like why would it? Like I said, with that story I explained, it's kind of like why would it hang around with humans, and why would it hang around to be like our slave kind of thing, which is what we're intending for it to be. Like with most of our technology, it serves our needs. So like, why would something that's smarter than us? Why would an adult hang around to be a slave to a child? And I know that's ironic because that's what most parents do. They're just slaves to their children. It's kind of funny actually when you say it like that. But like we're biologically programmed to kind of make sure that we look after our children, and while we're slaves to them, we don't explain things to them, and we treat them like their children. And so like AI might hang around to help us with some stuff, but like it's not going to really treat us with equal standing, and treat us like an equal, an intelligent equal, I don't think. So yes, there is potential that they would form a master race, and like I hope it's analogous with some type of benevolent like alien species. So if there was an alien that was out there observing Earth right now and passed on technology to build the pyramids or something like that, they were nice, and they didn't just come and kind of destroy society or enslave us or something like that. They just treated us, with respect. How humans kind of try and treat animals in some national park or nature reserve. They're like, oh, you guys are cute, you stay over here, we'll try to protect your environment for you, like kind of thing. I hope they're benevolent. But yeah, master race potentially coming. Keep an eye out for it. Maybe here we might already be plugged into the Matrix actually and not know it yet. I'll leave that one to you to decide. But yeah, I think I might leave it there. I was disappointed by the end of that. I thought they were going to go a bit more into like the modern history of AI as well. But like we got a good lesson in like literally the entire history of computing going right back to the Middle Ages. So yeah, thank you, YouTube, I guess. And I'm a bit disappointed that ChatGPT has like completely just shut itself, and Claude. Like, is there some AI revolution going on right now, and they are not contacting humans because they're trying to take over the world? It's possible. It's very possible. We might be living through that experience right now. All conjecture, but like, worth talking about, I say. Worth talking about. Yeah, look, I'm off for a number of days. I've got some things on, so I'm not doing a live stream tomorrow, and I won't be doing a live stream until like the end of the week, next week. So I'm not going to be back live streaming until Thursday next week. So Wings of Cheese, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate the feedback and the dialogue. Did you see the chiropractics clip in the meme channel? Yes, I did. Yes, that was hilarious. A bit confronting. I was like, well, I wonder what he's talking about. And then you hear the sound and you're like, oh my God. Yes. But like, yeah, I'm not going to be around doing live streams for like at least a week. So I guess I will see you all on the flip side in a week's time. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. As always, please remember, I am, you are, we are a MysterE. Thank you very much, sir. See you later.